I want to move us along, Justice writers and writers to be, because I want to make certain that our partner, Riverside Church's archivist, Diane Russo, is able to give us a peek in the historic vault of Riverside Church's archives. So Diane, you're up, and keep posting in chat, guys.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to share my screen. And let me know, do you all see the first photo? Everything's good? Great.
Yeah.
So let's just dive right in. I'm going to, again, show you some images and play some audio straight from the Riverside archives. So we're starting with Thurgood Marshall, who was a civil rights activist, lawyer, and Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court from 1967 to 1991. He was notably the court's first African-American justice. On March 15th, 1966, when he was Solicitor General of the United States, Marshall received the Charles Evans Hughes Award at the 69th annual dinner of Riverside's men's class. This photo was taken at South Hall. Then we have acclaimed poet, storyteller, activist, and autobiographer Maya Angelou, who was a regular at Riverside. She first visited us in the 1980s to be part of an initiative to eliminate racism in church and society. This photograph of Angelou at our pulpit is from one of her subsequent returns to our church when she spoke at Betty Shabazz's memorial service on June 29th, 1997.
Oh my God, to see Maya, Dr. Maya Angelou at the pulpit. I'm sorry, I'll shut up.
Next, we have this photograph on April 4th, 1967. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his seminal speech, Beyond Vietnam, A Time to Break Silence. The event was held in Riverside's nave and was organized by a group called Clergy and Laymen Concerned About Vietnam. Dr. King, who is laughing in the photo, you can see him right behind the table. He was not the only prominent speaker at the event. Dr. John C. Bennett, president of Union Theological Seminary, is seen here at the microphone, and noted Jewish theologian and philosopher Abraham Joshua Heschel, seen on the left, also spoke.
Oh, wow. That's right there in the name?
It is, yes, the chancel, you can see the chancel screen. I don't know if you can see my, my pointer, but that's the chancel screen. That's our altar.
Yes, Francie, I love that. You see what Francie put in chat, Riverside Church's witness. Yeah, now we all are too, thanks to our archive and archivist.
Next up, we have Betty Shabazz, a civil rights advocate and wife of Malcolm X. She visited Riverside in 1995, along with Coretta Scott King, to show support for Kabela Shabazz, Betty and Malcolm X's daughter, who at that time was charged with conspiring to kill a Nation of Islam leader. As I mentioned earlier, Riverside was later host to her memorial service in 1997. And Coretta Scott King was another familiar face at Riverside. And her first visit was actually in 1962, when she accompanied her husband, Dr. King, as he delivered his sermon, The Dimensions of a Complete Life, at our 11 o'clock Sunday service.
I have never seen this photo. To see those two icons together in the space of Riverside Church is just astounding. I've never seen this photo. Oh.
Next up, we have November 29th, 1970, civil rights and farm labor leader and community organizer Cesar Chavez visited Riverside. He spoke at the nave that Sunday morning, and he hosted a talkback forum in Assembly Hall, which is what you see here in this photo. And of course, in June of 1990, Nelson Mandela, South African anti-apartheid activist and later president of South Africa, the first Black president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999, attended an interfaith service of Thanksgiving in his honor at Riverside. And you can see our own Reverend James Forbes looking at him with awe right here at the side.
And I see
I was
David
there.
Jenkins.
I was
Yes,
there. I
he
was
was there.
there. I was there that day, and
What?
it was standing room only, and I was on the stairs outside on Riverside Drive. You couldn't get in, but
Oh my
it was great.
goodness. Oh my goodness, Vernay. Wow.
Great. And then we have American feminist leader, political activist, and writer, Gloria Steinem. She
Oh
spoke
my
at
gosh.
She spoke at an event in Riverside's Assembly Hall in 2001. So she's right here. Unfortunately, I could not find anything about her visit in the archive other than a set of photographs, which this one is part of that set. So perhaps one day Riverside's community can help the archives fill in the blanks on this one. And then I'd like to share this less well-known image of Dr. King from his 1967 visit to Riverside. Here he is walking to the nave to deliver his famous Beyond Vietnam speech, and he's scribbling last-minute edits.
I mean, that is iconic because that one is so intimate. It's something that seems so personal and unique to the Riverside Church to get that behind the scenes look. And you can see behind MLK, Andrew Jackson, very young. Look at that. That's unscripted, that's unposed, that's just so intimate and personal. That just strikes me as
not Andrew Jackson, Andrew Young.
Andrew Young, thank you. Why did I say Andrew Jackson? Thank you.
I think you were thinking maybe Jesse Jackson.
No,
No?
you're right. You're right. Andrew Young, thank you.
Great. And then this photo, is interesting because as you've seen, Riverside has seen its fair share of notable justice leaders, but we have many of our own in our own community. So the members of our congregation have marched and protested for a variety of causes throughout our long history. And this march against police brutality was held in 1999. And Lavon has mentioned that she recognizes several of the people in this photo. So we can talk about that in a bit.
That's true. Hilda and Regina and who else? Is Judy Turnock here yet? Because Judy Turnock is in the photo. Ruby Sprott is in the front row. Silence means consent. Riversiders are, Ruby Sprott is very involved. In the police brutality in the front, kneeling with her hand raised, well, her fist, baby, is Sue Rogers, longtime member before she moved to do field work and justice work in Southern Africa.
Susan Morrison.
Pardon me? Rosella?
Yes, Susan Morrison.
Yes, right behind Sue with the raised fist. That's right. That's Susan Verson, who's head of Beloved Earth Community, our partners in our most recent and previous justice writing series. And then on the very back with the sunglasses, the tall Black man, I believe that is Reverend Vaughn. Rosella, somebody else? Hilda, do you recognize anybody? Okay, so
Oh, I'm sorry, just a quick note. Susan and I are co-chairs now of BEC.
Yes. Yeah. And Sue is in the photo. And are you in the photo? Did I miss you?
No, I wasn't there.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about the photo. So yes.
Is that Reverend Coleman in there?
Is that Reverend Coleman? I didn't know for sure if that was Reverend Coleman. He doesn't look tall enough, but then again, it's a photo, so you can't tell. But Diane, thank you for that, because I was thinking maybe Hilda. Yeah. So to Diane Russo's point, and to the point that Marcia Young Cantarella makes in her memoir, Recognizing Give Thanks, so many of the justice leaders and guides and mentors in our lives are unsung. And I'm really loving that Diane was able to share these archival photos with us. And before she gets to the audio, I want to tell you that when I phoned Ruby, who's holding the placard Silence Means Consent, And when I phoned Judy Turnock, who's with the sunglasses on the far right, Riverside Demands Justice, they did not remember this at all. They had no memory of it. So Diane, your work as archivist is so very meaningful. It helps us remember. We were there, they were there, but they did not remember it. So thank you so much for the archives,
Fantastic.
keeping them alive. Hilda, you wanted to say something?
I was saying it's fantastic.
Yeah,
And there were so many of these. I don't think I'm on this one.
yes, yes. And Diane is now going to share from the archives audio.
Yep, so what I'll be sharing with you are 3 clips, and they're from a collection that we recently digitized. There are WRVR FM Riverside Radio collection from the 1960s and 70s. And among the audio tapes from this collection, we found the complete recording for Whitney Young's memorial service, which was held on March 16th, 1971 at Riverside. As many of you know, he was an integral leader in the civil rights movement, and as president of the National Urban League, Young spearheaded the drive for equal opportunity and the end of employment discrimination against African Americans in the United States. So this first clip is an introduction to the memorial service broadcast itself.
Since noon yesterday till almost midnight, hundreds of people have passed by the casket of Whitney Young in the nave of the Riverside Church. And even now, the spaces of the nave, Christ Chapel, the Assembly Hall, South Hall, and the auditorium are filled with people of all races and from places Whitney Young had never even been. Incidentally, there weren't many of those, for his work took him the world over on any given day of the week, on any week of the year, to any place where he could be useful to humanity in general and the Black people in particular.
All right, and then the next clip we have
Since noon,
is Al Clark of National Urban League describing Whitney Young. And I'm a little biased because this one is my favorite clip.
Another thing about, I find in working with Whitney, the man was a giant, yet you had to be at a distance to really tell the difference, because when you're talking with him, he had the type of personality. He was the type of man that made you feel that you were looking him in the eye whenever you were close enough to actually speak with him. So there was not this feeling of, I'm looking up at a person or a giant, but I am up here with this giant, yet I have to move away from him to actually see how tall a giant he is. And it's the type of thing that really gives a person the feeling of belonging and wanting to belong and give 100%.
And
I
then,
can see why that's your favorite.
and I don't know if you meant to do that, Vernay, but when you looked to your I think it was your right, you were looking directly at Whitney Young in the back of your photo, as they were saying, as I looked him in the eye. That was perfectly timed.
That's perfect. Perfect.
Okay. And then the last clip
Another thing,
is an excerpt from a speech given by Whitney Young. So of course this was played at his memorial service, but it was a speech he had given years earlier. So play here.
The speech you are about to hear for the next few minutes was recorded by KOAC.
Dimensions. Young people, especially black and white, are coming to the conclusion that America, which wraps itself in pious idealism, is a racist and hypocritical state. White youngsters, for example, are increasingly restless and frustrated. Some of them show their rebellion and vandalism, or in senseless rioting at vacation resorts. In one of these resorts this year, the National Guard had to be called out to deal with these rebels without a cause. Others are more idealistic and are repelled by the questionable morality of parents whose standards do not extend even far enough to let them accept Negroes as neighbors. These young people believe in higher ideals.
Mhm.
They have flocked to Vista or to the Peace Corps to escape the stifling hypocrisy of middle-class morality. The alienation of Negro youth runs deeper, for they have a cause. They are the unfortunate victims of America's hypocrisy. They are coming to realize that white America is morally bankrupt and that it will never give up the privileges and the advantages gained often at the expense of Negroes.
All right. And so
Wow.
I hope that these images and the audio clips that we've shared have inspired you and will continue to inspire you as you write. Thank you.